What is up everyone, and welcome to some more F123 My Team Career Mode. We are here for round number 3 of Season 5 of our Jaguar Racing career, and we are going to be at the Australian Grand Prix. And we're coming off the back of a difficult result in Saudi Arabia. We got a P10 finish there, which honestly I would have taken at the start of the weekend had it not been for the fact that I qualified on pole position and I just kept slipping down the order. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't stay with them. I was just completely losing out pace wise, and yeah, it was pretty rough in the end. We had a quick look at the performance index there, and you can see that there are now 8 teams that are at the sharp end, and a few more teams beginning to catch up as well. So it's just it's Williams and Alfa Romeo kind of in a little bit of a fight on their own. Alpha Tauri very much by themselves down at the bottom, and then the other 8 teams are all at the top end, can conceivably see themselves getting into the top 10 and maybe on occasion fighting for the pole position and the win. But yeah, it really just depends on driver ability, driver skill, and unfortunately some of these teams at the moment I think simply just don't have the driver lineup to be able to compete for those top positions. But we will see how things unfold as we make our way into the Australian Grand Prix. Can we finally get ourselves onto the podium after a tricky start to the season? You know, a P5 and a P10 so far. I think Jack Doohan so far as well. He's been sort of consistently in and around the top 5, but he's yet to get on the podium either for this team. So I'm hoping that we can maybe have a good result here today, especially considering that it is, of course, my teammate Jack Doohan's home race here in Australia. So I'm sure that he'll be wanting to put on a show for all of his fans, especially considering that you know, there is maybe a slightly more popular Australian driver on the grid that I think he will want to be beating. I accidentally skipped through that absent-mindedly, so we didn't see where I finished in qualifying. I think Doohan was P3 just behind Piastri, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he did pretty well. But my pace was pretty good in practice, so I was pretty happy about that. I was feeling very consistent around the circuit, which was nice to see as well. So I was pretty optimistic that we were going to have a good quali and hopefully a good race as well. But you know, things can very, very quickly change, especially considering there is the threat of rain in both qualifying and the race. You would have to say that things could quickly get out of hand for us, and possibly we might be staring down the barrel of maybe even a Q2 exit if things don't go our way. You know, when the weather is this unpredictable, it really is just a case of trying to make sure that you are out on the track in qualifying at the right time and making sure you don't get caught out by any sudden weather changes and everyone else has gone on a flying lap and you haven't yet, and then all of a sudden you're kind of in the mud a little bit. So we do a 1:15.9 on our first flying lap. It's not a terrible run, but definitely there is some improvement to be had there. Unfortunately, on my second run in Q1, I got blocked here by Yuki Tsunoda, and that kind of threw off my whole run through here. I went off the track, lost a load of time, and yeah, it was just a very poor run overall. Yuki Tsunoda even looks to try and get me back there. So yeah, I was very, very annoyed about that. He was blocking me throughout basically the entire beginning of the lap. Eventually, I managed to get past him, but the damage had kind of already been done by that point. So as Jack Doohan crosses the line to go fastest, we are going to round the final corner to just barely fail to improve. And I think we are going to make it through to Q2 nonetheless, but it's only in P13, so we are going to need to find some improvement between now and Q2 if we want to be making it into Q3. We're going to need to be getting a few more tenths out of this car at the very least. Jack Doohan with a 1:15.2 going fastest there. My former teammate Kevin Magnussen in P2 as well, so a very solid performance from him. Meanwhile, no real surprises in the drop zone here. Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Joe, De Vries and Stroll. And yeah, unsurprisingly, the 2 Alpha Tauris, the slowest cars on the grid at the moment, they are just absolutely nowhere performance-wise. And to top things off, they don't have a particularly strong driver lineup either. No offense to either driver, but I don't think they're particularly highly rated in this year's game from what I understand. Making it through into Q2 now, we start out on a used set of soft compound tyres. This is going to be something of a banker run. We do a 1:15.8, which was actually faster than both of the fresh times that we did in Q1, so we're already looking a little bit better, but I think we'll need to improve on that at least a little bit if we want to make it through to Q3. We're currently down in P13, and well, we're definitely going to need a little bit of an improvement here, and we're not actually improving as much as I would have expected to. You can see that we are only about 3/10 up. I was thinking we'd be going a little bit faster than this, so if we do make it through, I don't think that this is going to be the fastest time by any stretch of the imagination. We do make up a few tenths in the last couple of corners, so we're about 5 tenths faster. It's a 1:15.3 as we cross the line, and that puts us in P5. So we've made it through to Q3, no real issues, but we definitely are going to need to do a better time in Q3 if we want to challenge for pole position, and if we want to challenge our teammate Jack Doohan as well. A few drivers there into the 1:14s, and the drivers eliminated here are George Russell, who I believe won the previous race, Magnussen, Hauger, Lawson, Ocon, and Tsunoda. Actually, I'm mistaken. It wasn't Russell that won the previous race. It was Bahrain that he won. Perez won the previous race. But yeah, Red Bull, the dominance coming out from them so far as they win the first 2 races. But well, I said it could happen, and here is exactly what has happened. We've gone out on a set of soft compound tyres. At least it was a set of fresh soft compound tyres, I'm happy to say, because I did slightly preempt that this was going to happen. But yeah, we're going to be one of the last drivers to cross the line here on a track that is rapidly getting wetter, and we're on a set of dry compound tyres, so who knows what could happen here. Are we going to be able to even get out of P10, because you know that the AI in changing conditions, they are a little bit overpowered on this year's game, and so sometimes it's just impossible to get a time that is even close to theirs. So as we come on the run to the line, how is it going to go? It's a 1:19.7, and it puts us fastest for now, but could anyone spoil the balance as we finish off the session? We'll find out. But as we make our way through to the end of Q3, we only did the one run because the track only got wetter from that point. We were on pole. I don't know how we managed it, but somehow we were the fastest driver on the grid. Jack Doohan, disappointingly, only down in P7, slightly behind his compatriot Oscar Piastri there as well. So yeah, that was a disappointing quali for him, but a very satisfying quali for myself as I pull even further ahead in this rivalry against Carlos Sainz. And if we win this, we'll be bumping the difficulty up even higher, which, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want that, quite frankly, because I'm already struggling to contend with everyone on the difficulty that we're on. But you know, the rules are the rules, and I definitely feel like Carlos Sainz at the moment, from what I've seen, is maybe doing a bit better than Charles Leclerc. But things can very quickly change in Formula One, and they quite often do. So we will see how the race unfolds. I feel like I should be at least challenging for a podium, if not for the win here. There might be some rain at the very end of the race, but hopefully that won't affect it too much, and we will see what we can do as we get into the Australian Grand Prix.
Welcome to magnificent Melbourne in the Australian sun. This is a fantastic city, and it's a fantastic and slightly revised racetrack. It's a relatively new look at Albert Park after its 2022 redevelopment. Turns 1, 3, 6 and 13 are all wider than they once were. We have thrown turns 9 and 10 into the bin. We do still have 3 DRS zones that will give our drivers that opportunity to overtake. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. Robinson lines up on pole position, Charles Leclerc alongside. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Norris, Albon, Oscar Piastri, Doohan, Perez, Verstappen, Gasly, Russell, Magnussen, Hauger, Liam Lawson, Ocon, Tsunoda, Hulkenberg, Fittipaldi, Sargent, Joe, De Vries, and Lance Stroll brings the grid to a close. And now it's time to head down to the track.
Once again, choosing not to say anything on this occasion. I have already talked about that reptile fact in a previous video, so we won't touch on it this time. And yeah, we'll see what the strategy is going to be in this race. I reckon this is not a particularly high deck circuit from what I understand, although it does recommend a medium hard, so maybe I'm wrong about that. I think medium hard could be the play here, quite frankly. We'll see if anyone does start on the softs. I'm not going to be one of them, and my choice was vindicated because everybody else is starting on the mediums as well. So yeah, we should be looking good here, hopefully, to challenge for, you know, at least a podium position. Like I said, whether we'll be able to win this one, I'm not quite sure. I'm hoping we'll be able to hold on to P1 for at least a little bit of time. And yeah, I really do feel like we have a good chance to do something quite special here. Maybe get our first win of the season. Who knows? In the intro, I believe Alex Jake said that there were 3 DRS zones here, but from what I understand, there's actually 4. So that must be a little bit of an artifact from what I can see. But in any case, it is now time for the lights to get ready to come on. And the lights go out. And we've had a very good getaway, as you might expect from us at this point. We are already a few tenths ahead of the nearest cars. Norris has actually got his way up all the way into P2. Leclerc has fallen down to P5. So, yeah, we're 7 tenths ahead of Lando Norris at the moment, and hopefully we can start to bridge a little bit of a gap to him and maybe start to break away in this race. Unfortunately, on 100 AI, I think the chances of that happening are fairly slim, and I think that my old rival will once again come to try and challenge me for the victory here. Obviously, we were battling tooth and nail all the way throughout the previous season, the 2026 season, as it were. And as we make our way into the 2027 season now, you can see that Norris is once again perhaps going to prove to be a little bit of a rival to me. Although at the moment, I'm not really even in the championship conversation. I'm all the way down in 8th in the championship. So yeah, we're going to need to do quite a lot to try and get ourselves back into the championship fight, and I think that's going to start here with hopefully a victory as we defend from Lando Norris there. He seems very fast in a straight line, but maybe he's just using a lot of battery early on, and maybe he will be made to pay the price for that later on. So we round the final corner into the start of the second lap at Albert Park, and we are currently leading the race. So hopefully this will be the case for the entire thing, but we haven't broken out of that coveted 1 second range yet. So as we make our way towards the end of lap 3 now, you can see that Lando Norris is a complete rocket ship compared to me there, and by the time we get to the corner, it's not even close. He's going to have the DRS in the next DRS zone as well, and that actually might leave me susceptible to my current rival Carlos Sainz as well, as he dives around the outside, and I don't think I'm going to be able to defend this one. And indeed, Carlos Sainz, he manages to break away. We make a bit of contact with his rear wing as he gets a little bit out of sorts there, and he's going so slowly through these corners. I was cursing when he was doing this. I was fuming because he's just holding up myself and letting Lando Norris break away. By the time we get to the end of lap 5, Norris is out of that DRS range to Sainz, and we are very, very close to Sainz still. So I think maybe there might be an opportunity for us to try and go for a move on him once again, burning that battery, using that DRS, and we're going to see if we can go for a move up the inside. And well, we maybe leave it a little bit late there. We make a bit of contact with him, but we push him out to the outside of the corner, which turns to the inside for the next corner. We go over the track limit, but somehow we do manage to make the move. It was not a particularly clean move on Carlos Sainz, I must say, but well, he's pretty close to us, so maybe he'll be able to get the position back. All that I've really done there, especially considering he's going to have the DRS now, is probably brought Albon and Leclerc into the fight a little bit here as well. You can see there's a big train heading back all the way to the Alpines. I think this is a 14-car train, maybe only a 13-car train, as I can see there is an Aston Martin a bit further down. But still, it's a big train going on right now, and Alex Albon is going to try and break out of it. So we make our way down into P4 now, but we are going to see if we can fight him back. We do have the DRS. We exceed track limits again, so we can't do that at all, otherwise we are going to get a penalty. And actually, Charles Leclerc is looking for a way through here. We're going to see if we can defend from him. We're going to get the outside of the next corner, and that is going to be enough for us to hold on to P4. But we're off the podium now, so my podium dreams might be shattered here, as Jack Doohan has made his way past Charles Leclerc now and up into P5. I'm not going to fight my teammate too hard around here, especially not at his home race, but I definitely don't want to lose too many more positions, because otherwise this is just going to turn into a repeat of what happened at Saudi Arabia, where I just could not could not defend from anyone, it seemed, and we were just a bit of a sitting duck, unfortunately. The way the DRS zones are set up around here, there's only a couple of detection points, and if you get DRS in one zone, you'll get it in the next one as well. So yeah, unfortunately, there's just not the ability to play DRS chicken like you can in tracks like Monza and in Jeddah. It just doesn't quite work out the same way. So yeah, a little bit frustrating, because it does mean that we lose out to both Doohan and Leclerc on this lap, and we're all the way down into P6. The next thing that really happened that was of any importance was me coming into the pit lane on lap 12, a little earlier than we had perhaps planned, a couple laps beforehand, but I think that this is going to be the optimum strategy from what I can see, because if I had left it late, there would have been no chance to undercut. We know how powerful the undercut is around here, so I just have to try and make sure I don't get held up by the cars in front, and see if I can close the gap to the cars around me as much as possible. But we make our way onto lap 13, and you can see that that Enzo Fittipaldi is a few seconds up the road from us, so I think we might encounter a little bit of traffic here. And well, actually, what is even more worrying than that is the fact that Sergio Perez is behind us, and he's actually going to look for a little bit of a move up the inside. We do manage to defend from him, but if we're not careful, I think that we could be coming under pressure from him as well. He boxed early in this race, I think maybe due to damage or something like that, but he has managed to maybe turn himself into a bit of a contender in this race. We'll see how things pan out, as we have now caught up with Enzo Fittipaldi and Yuki Tsunoda. So we're going to have to try and get ahead of these guys as quickly as we can. I got blocked by Yuki Tsunoda in Q1, and I believe actually I got blocked by him a little bit in Q2 as well. And the way that things are panning out, as we do manage to pass our former teammate Enzo Fittipaldi very quickly there, things are turning out that we could get blocked a little bit by Yuki Tsunoda here. Definitely not close enough to make a move on this occasion, but we're going to need to clear him very quickly. As we switch to the replay camera, we're going to see the battle from a different angle, and you can see that once again I am just getting caught up behind him. I wonder if we made a bit of contact there. He eventually gives me a bit of space. We go around the outside. We're going to have the DRS, and we're going to break away from Yuki Tsunoda, but there was definitely a bit of holding up there. You can see Charles Leclerc is exiting the pit lane. Who's going to come out ahead? Is it going to be me? Is it going to be him? We were almost wheel to wheel going into the first corner, but we do manage to break away from Leclerc there, and that has I think got us up into well, I'm not quite sure. I guess we'll find out when everybody else pits. We've got Doohan and Sainz boxing here, who we've both managed to undercut as well. Albon yet to pit. We're in net P2, so we've gone from P6 to P2 off the back of that pit strategy, and hopefully on the hard compound tyres we'll be able to be a little bit of a competitive force around here. We've undercut Albon and we are through into P2. I think Norris is going to get the victory here, but if I can hold on to the P2, then that would be absolutely fantastic. We do have a number of cars behind who I think are maybe going to want to challenge my claim for P2. Leclerc and Sainz, maybe even Perez on those mediums, although I do have to say I think those mediums are going to be very worn out by the end of the race, so I wouldn't be surprised if, even if he does overtake us, he will drop off quite drastically towards the end of the Grand Prix. So yeah, we're coming under a bit of pressure here from Charles Leclerc. 1/10 is the gap. I think Sainz might be looking to go for a move as well up the inside, and he actually is going to go into the side of his teammate there, which means that we are going to be able to make the move back around the outside of Carlos Sainz. I don't think any damage was caused to either of the Ferraris, but Charles Leclerc has managed to make the move on me. We are going to have the DRS here, but whether we're able to use that, I'm not quite sure about that. Lap 22, and you can see that Pierre Gasly is going to finally become the first retirement from this race. Sometimes there are early retirements in a Grand Prix, but on this occasion it took until lap 22 for somebody to tap out of this one, and it is the Alpine of Pierre Gasly, one of the only teams on the grid with an unchanged driver lineup since season 1. I think Ferrari might be the only other one from what I can remember. So yeah, a little bit of a special case there, as Carlos Sainz eventually does make his way past me on lap 24 here, and with only a few laps left to go, we might be unable to get that podium position after all. However, as we make our way through a couple more laps, you can see that I am still clearly quite close to Carlos Sainz, and as a result we're going to have the DRS on him, and I think there is the opportunity to perhaps make a pass on him, round the outside, going into turn 9. We're going to dive around the outside, switch to the inside for the following corner, don't go off the track and get a track limits warning because that's how you get penalties. And we're going to have the DRS here as well, which hopefully should allow us to hold on to the position as we make our way into that. I believe it is turn 12. I could be wrong about that. Might be turn 11. In any case, there is going to be one more twist in the tail here as one of the Red Bulls, I believe Sergio Perez maybe, goes straight into the back of Logan Sargent there as Sargent is retiring from the Grand Prix, causes himself damage and probably puts himself out of the race completely. It might have been Russell actually, thinking about it. So yeah, a bit of a race to forget for the Red Bulls, picking up damage and not really scoring many significant points here, especially after winning the first 2 races in a row. You would have thought they would have done a little bit better here. The rain did not end up coming at a time that affected the outcome of the race at all. Norris is going to probably end up winning this one with Leclerc in P2, but Jack Doohan is quite close to us. I don't think that there's really an opportunity for him to put some pressure on us unless we have a really poor exit from the final corner. You would have to say that I think this is going to be a P3 for me, as yes, eventually Lando Norris does win the Grand Prix, the first win for himself and Mercedes this season, but I'm sure it won't be the last. And we are going to round the final corner and come on the run up to the line, take the checkered flag for P3. Not a bad result. We finally got that podium, so I'm pretty happy with that. I would have liked, obviously, to have got the win because we did get that pole position. However, I think it was a bit of a fluke pole position that wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the weather conditions, so I'm willing to accept P3.
Another superb Australian Grand Prix comes to an end then, and it's a thoroughly deserved victory. Natalie, fill us in. What was it that helped the team achieve their success today?
Well, confidence breeds confidence. Success breeds success. They are very much enjoying a purple patch right now.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well, Lando Norris hasn't been too involved in the championship so far, but maybe things might be about to change off the back of this result as he wins the Australian Grand Prix. I'm sure he'll be very happy with that result. Charles Leclerc picking up a podium, P2, not a bad result from him, and myself finishing in P3. And yeah, I'm happy to just be on the podium. Hopefully we can get some wins at some point this season, sooner rather than later. But yeah, I think that it will have to wait for a little while yet.
So let's have a quick look at how the drivers' standings have changed. Lando Norris takes over the lead of the Drivers' Championship after that excellent result. Let's focus on Driver of the Day, Natalie Pinkham. Come on, who do you pick?
I think for Driver of the Day, I'd probably pick Lando Norris. He lived up to every inch of his reputation today, and I think he'll be going home, quite rightly, a bit proud of himself.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes moved to the top of the table. Meanwhile, Ferrari have improved their position. A strong weekend for them as they fight their way towards the top. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So, we currently sit P7 in the Drivers' Championship. However, we are only 15 points off the lead, so anything can happen yet. I definitely still think that we are very much in this championship after only 3 out of a total of 23 races. I don't think that we are down and out by any means. And, well, not only that, we're also P3 in the Constructors, but again, we're not even 20 points off the top spot. So once again, I think things can very quickly change there. Maybe if Doohan can find a bit more pace, a bit more confidence, we could see him go on to do some quite special things as well. He's ahead of me in the championship, but only by about 8 points, I think, so very much recoverable. He's had a pretty consistent run of results, you know, no podiums yet, but he's had, I think, sort of P5, and P4, and I don't remember what the other finishing position was that he had in Saudi Arabia. It might have been P5 again, if I remember correctly, or maybe even P4 again, I'm not sure. So I'm trying to think, if he's had a P5 and a P4 and he's on 34 points, that means he would have had to have had another P4, I think. So yeah, he's doing pretty well, pretty consistent, pretty solid from Jack Doohan. You know, he's already doing a lot better than Kevin Magnussen was doing when he was my teammate last season. So I am yeah, I'm pretty enamoured with Jack Doohan so far. Looking like he was a really strong signing, and yeah, hopefully he'll go on to do even better things, some podiums, maybe even some wins before the end of the season. He obviously had a win in the McLaren last season in his very first race in Formula 1, which was very, very amazing to witness. But yeah, he's yet to repeat that feat, despite the fact that he did go on to have a number of podiums in the McLaren. So yeah, the next race is the Chinese Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken, and I think that one is going to be a difficult one. It always is for me. I typically don't go amazingly well around China on this year's game. Last year's game, I was absolutely cracked at China. I think I won it 4 or 5 times. So yeah, I don't know. This year's game, they seem to have changed something about it, maybe, or at least the way that the cars work now. The AI seem to be a lot stronger around China than they were on last year's game. So I really struggle to contend with them. And as a result, I don't think I've scored points there in any of the Chinese Grand Prix that we've done so far. I think we've done 3 of them, and I finished outside the top 10 in all 3. So yeah, it's going to be a tricky one. Even in a fast car, you know, we've got a car which is sort of equally fastest on the grid, so the potential is there for the performance. But somehow I anticipate that I'm going to be probably quite far down the order. If I can even score a few points in China just to keep myself, you know, not completely out of it. If we can get sort of maybe P8, P7, that kind of thing, I will take that result based on what has come before. So yeah, we got a string of difficult races coming up. I think Baku's not far away either, and that one typically isn't tremendous for me either. So yeah, we're gonna have to fight really hard to stay in the championship battle here. But you know me, I love a challenge. We're on 100 AI, so it's no secret that I like being challenged, and hopefully we'll be able to do something quite special. But that is it for this video. So if you enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next one.